Lesson 6, sixth chapter of the book of Proverbs. I am enjoying this very much. Proverbs is a very good book, and I've really enjoyed it. Some of you are going to identify with the first story that Solomon is telling his son Rehoboam right off the bat here in chapter 6. My son, if you have become surety for your neighbor, have given a pledge for a stranger, if you have been snared with the words of your mouth, have been caught with the words of your mouth, do this then, my son, and deliver yourself, since you have come into the hands of your neighbor. Go humble yourself and importune your neighbor. Do not give sleep to your eyes, nor slumber to your eyelids. Deliver yourself like a gazelle from the hunter's hand, and like a bird from the hand of the fowler. What in the world is Solomon saying? It's sobering. If you have become surety for your neighbor, if you have given a pledge for a stranger, if you have been snared with the words of your mouth, if you have been caught with the words of your mouth, do then this, my son. What in the world is surety? Well, surety is when you agree to be responsible for the debt of someone else. What is a pledge? A pledge is when you have signed your name and you have made a vow that you will be responsible for the debt of someone else. We call it today co-signing. Will you co-sign for me, Aunt May? Will you co-sign for me, Granny Smith? Mama and Daddy, will you co-sign for me? Because I need someone just to sign, just so I can get the lights turned on. Or I'm trying just to get this car that, it's just a really simple car. It's got all the bells and whistles, but it's just a simple car. Will you co-sign for me, please? Well, Solomon is saying, don't co-sign for anyone. Do not co-sign for your neighbor. Do not co-sign for your stranger. And if you do, go to him immediately and importune him. What does importune mean? Importune means to continue to press him to pay the bill. Continue increasingly, pay him, press him persistently, importune. Tell him, get him to pay the bill. The problem is, if you have not figured it out yet, if someone does not have the credit to get something and needs a cosigner, there is probably a reason for that. Now, folks, we sometimes, against even sometimes our better judgment, we will cosign for a child of ours or whatever. But let me make you a warning. When you co-sign for someone, you're making the note. The other person's not making the note. The other person doesn't even matter to the bank. What matters is you. So if you're trusting enough to sign your credit and your good name to someone, and then let them go off and pay it or not pay it, and you're not even keeping up with it, you are in trouble. You are in trouble. Now, first of all, if they need a cosigner, that ought to tell you something. That ought to tell you that they've not done what they've needed to do to set things in place. But I will tell you something else. Just between me and you and the fence post, if you go to the bank to borrow money for something that you don't already have the money for, that's probably a real big want instead of a need. Because I want to tell you a little secret. I have a little thing that's very near and dear to me. It's called my Bible. And my Bible promises me that God will supply all of my needs according to His riches and glory. And that is not through the local bank. I don't have to go borrow money for the things that I want, that I think I need. If you think you need something and you don't have the money, it's probably there's a good reason why that you don't have the money. I could list for you many things in my life where other things were more important that I financially take care of, which caused my projects that I had wanted to start to be put off and put off and put off and put off and put off. Other things are just more important in our lives that we have to make priorities. And I want you to understand that. We have to make priorities. And if we have to go to the bank to borrow something, it needs to be something that is a real need. But number two is do not go sign for somebody else for something that they think is a need, because it's probably not a need. If you're going to buy something or you're going to sign for somebody else, just put it in your name and pay for it. Just put it in your name and pay for it. If somebody wants to borrow something from you, it's better to give it to them. And they'll say, no, I'll pay you back. Say, listen, don't you even worry about paying me back. Do you know why? Because if they don't pay you back, you now have a broken relationship, not because of you, but because of them. They will run from you because they haven't paid you back. If you've got something that they need, let them have it. Do not put yourself in debt for someone else. In fact, he goes on in verse 6, he says, go to the ant, my son, and think about the ant. Go to the ant, O sluggard, observe her ways and be wise, which have no chief, officer, or ruler, prepares her food in the summer and gathers her provisions in the harvest. How long will you lie down, O sluggard? When you arise from your sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and your poverty will come upon you like a vagabond, and your need like an armed man. He's saying to Rehoboam, you co-sign for a note, you've just co-signed for a sluggard. You tell that sluggard to be like the ant. Learn the lesson from an ant. In fact, one of the books that Solomon actually had at his convenience to read of the Bible, because not much of the Bible is in place yet, but one of the books he has is the book of Job. And in the book of Job it says, but now ask the beast, and let him teach you, and the birds of the heaven, and let them tell you. In other words, you keep reading on that. In other words, the birds know, the beasts know, they know how to do business. Go learn from these animals. Well, Solomon here, learning that concept, says to his son, look, in the ant world, no one co-signs for anything to borrow anything in the ant world, and in the animal world either. Every ant does his own business. Every ant does everything it needs to do without training, without instruction, without borrowing. Can you think what it'd been like if one fox goes to another fox and says, hey, will you co-sign with me on this squirrel I'm fixing to get? Will you help me chase it down? Co-sign with me to feed the family or whatever. Ants are remarkable. The thing about it's just incredible. They gather food at the proper season. They gather it at the proper time. They have just the right amount that they need to make it through the hard times of the year for them. They do what they need to do because they take care of business. Oh, take your lesson from an ant and take care of business. Oh, you slugger. Slugger, interesting. He uses the word slugger. He's talking about the one who's asking to somebody to co-sign. That's the lazy person. He's sluggish. He's sluggers. He sleeps instead of working. Anybody of y'all know anybody that fits this picture? They sleep in the day. They play at night because their deeds are evil. Oh, I didn't say that. Yeah, I did. And they just don't get up. They don't study. They don't go to work. When they do get a job, they say, oh, I can take that day off. Yeah, to go down to the beach. It's a nice day to go take off. 99.9% of having a paycheck from a job is just showing up at the right time and going home at the right time and not early. Always just being there, just being available. I cannot tell you how many people I know, they say, I just play cards all day long pretty much. And then something will come my desk and I'll do it. It'll take me 5 minutes. The next couple of hours, I'll play solitaire or whatever. Just waiting. They're hired to do stuff when stuff's brought to them. And that's what they do. That's part of getting a paycheck. That's just what you do. Well, he's talking about people like this who don't even have a job. They're not even going out and trying to get a job. An ant stores up what he needs. A slugger borrows what he needs. And a slugger doesn't even repay back. And I know a bunch of them. In fact, Solomon says here, you're going to be like this sluggard that just borrows everything. The poverty is going to come upon you like a vagabond, he says. What's a vagabond? A vagabond is someone who just wanders around from place to place without a job and without a home. And that's what Solomon is saying to Rehoboam. It's the type of person who's going to ask you to co-sign, to give a surety. If you've done that for somebody, go to them immediately. Go to them immediately and say, listen, I did that for you, but we need to get this paid as quickly as possible. And I will say to you, this scripture is so true, because I guarantee you somewhere down the road, after you have done a signature for someone, it is going to come back to burn you and to bite you if you don't handle it yourself. Well, with that, he starts talking about this sluggish person, this sluggard. Verse 12 says, a worthless person, a wicked man, is one who walks with a false mouth, who winks with his eyes, who signals with his feet, who points with his fingers, who with perversity in his heart devises evil continually, who spreads strife. Therefore, his calamity will come suddenly, instantly he will be broken, and there will be no healing. Well, let me tell you something. Back in the Hebrew, the word worthless person actually spells out, and you could, if you said it out loud, you'd understand what the words were. The first word is Adam, or Adam. Got it? Adam, good for nothing. That's what we call it. We've translated worthless person, but the words really are Adam, good for nothing. It's a person, a man who is good for nothing. A person or man, and it carries the idea of a person who has become a naughty man after losing his innocence. Remember, Adam lost his innocence and learned about the world when they ate the fruit. So what happens in this, the worthless person, the naughty man who's lost his innocence, will then carry on to become a wicked man, is what he's trying to say to us in this passage. And from the wicked man, he will begin to abandon God, and that's what wicked man means, has abandoned God. That's what the definition would be. So he goes about his business trying to create perverse trouble for people. That's what a wicked man does. Now, we've seen that in the last lessons, too. A wicked man just continually is trying to do things to trip up other people and to steal from people. The plan of a wicked person is to sow conflict in the lives of people. With a false mouth, they fake out a man and they try to get these things to happen that will steal from them. These are the traits of a person who without warning is going to fall finally. One day it's going to happen. Verse 16 says, there are 6 things that the Lord hates. Yes, 7, which are an abomination to him. And here they are: haughty eyes, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked plans, feet that run rapidly to evil, and a false witness, and one who spreads strife among the brethren. That's 7 things. You notice it's eyes, tongue, hand, heart, feet, and then back to the false witnesses, which is the tongue, and then the one who spreads. Let's see about these. Haughty eyes. What kind of words can we put together so whether you are 8 years old or 18 or 68 or 88, that we all understand what he's using with the words haughty eyes? Snooty, arrogant, stuck up, puffed up, conceited, snobbish, pompous, condescending. Any of those catch you where you understand those words? Yeah, that's what he's talking about. Let me tell you something about eyes. Eyes always tell the truth even while the mouth's lying. Did you know that? The mouth is lying, but the eyes tell the truth. Yep, you know what I'm talking about. Somebody will say something to me and you'll say, your mouth is saying that, but your eyes are telling me something different. I'll show you an example. No, honey, I didn't do that. What did my eyes tell you? I probably did do it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you've seen it. You've got that smirk on your face. You never have that smirk on your face, and your eyes never look like that whenever you're telling the truth. We learn about those things. We learn the character of people. Well, eyes tell the truth. The eyes, the haughty eyes, will say, "Oh, honey, your dress is so beautiful." How well did I do that? Catch the point? You got it? All right. Haughty eyes, condescending, pompous. All sinners are no better than anyone else, except if you have entered into the grace of the Lord Jesus. We all have the problem of haughty eyes. We do. A lying tongue. Lying tongue means not speaking the truth. Okay, what's not the truth? Not the truth is being deceitful, dishonest, two-faced, corrupt. Obviously, we don't just communicate any longer like they did with speaking to each other. We have telephones. We have internet. We type stuff. Okay, lying tongue. The Lord hates a lying tongue, a person who's deceitful, dishonest, and two-faced. Hands that shed innocent blood. What is innocent blood? Innocent blood refers to people being hurt who are just bystanders. Bystanders, just there. Now, in war, we call that collateral damage. You know, we're bombing a compound where they have all these ordinances, and it happens to be next to a elementary school, and they've put it there on purpose. So when we bomb it, we know there's going to be children who are killed, who are bystanders, who are there because of the way they're doing the war and the way they're hiding this stuff underneath these schools. All right, war is one thing. Here he's talking about innocent blood of people, such as these wicked people going out to try to steal or rob from a bank, and they hurt innocent people along the way. God hates that. He hates that. He hates people who are guiltless and blameless, people who are faultless of being hurt. God hates it when people come along and hurt them with knives and weapons and that type of stuff. Hearts that devise wicked plans. He's gone from the outside of our hands and stuff. He's gone into the heart. He doesn't mean the physical heart. He means the intent of your soul. He talks about the eyes. He talks about the lips. He talks about the hands. But the intent of your soul is what fabricates the things that your eyes and your lips and your hands will do. It comes from deep within. Those things are fabricated, and they are called sins. And God hates those type of sins. He then comes back out of the heart and he goes down towards the feet. Eyes, lips, hands, heart to feet. Feet. The feet of a person who runs rapidly. They've devised the plan. They've fabricated the plan. They've sought out and they've seen how to do what they want to do. They've talked about it with people. They've got all the plans made. They've got their hands ready, and now they're ready to run and do that evil. God hates that type of thing. He hates people who run swiftly to do evil things. And then he turns back to a false witness. That's back to the mouth. He says here, false witness who witnesses utter lies. For instance, you've got a buddy. The buddy has lied. And then you turn around and say, yeah, what he said is right, when what he said was wrong. You've witnessed, you have, out of your mouth, you have given a false witness for someone that has lied. That the Lord hates. He hates it when we endorse people who we know are not telling the truth. He hates when we help people along. The Lord hates liars. But let me tell you what's worse than that. All those things can be forgiven. One thing is an abomination to the Lord out of the seven. The seventh thing is the one who spreads strife amongst the brethren. That is abomination to the Lord. That's actually... we call it abomination to the Lord. The Hebrew actually tells us it's an abomination to the Lord's soul. It doesn't just pass the Lord. It goes all the way to the soul of the Lord. The Lord cannot stand the stench of discord in a family, in a town, in a state, in a nation. He cannot stand it. Let me tell you what strife does. Strife affects relationships. Strife breaks relationships. Strife destroys relationships with the Lord. Strife is an abomination and a stench in the nostrils of the Lord. He literally and truly thinks it's an abomination. Now, every one of us, if we have any family relationships whatsoever, we have somebody in our family that they have made it their goal and their plot in life to cause strife within the family. I know that. I know it. I know because I have lived in the families where you cannot go through a single holiday, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, birthday, or whatever, when all the family's together, when this one certain person will always bring up something about everybody that everybody has heard every single holiday, and all it does is causes strife. And they enjoy it. They enjoy it. Yeah, they do. They're the ones that they're always late coming to the party. And everybody's there thinking, oh, it's going to be a great party, you know, and you're eating. And then the doorbell rings, ding dong. Hi, y'all. And everybody goes, they do it inside. They don't really do it outside. They, trying to be nice. But inside they're going, And sure enough, they get their plate, they sit down. And in the conversation, they're going to bring up something you did 48 years ago. And it has come up in every single holiday. Am I off base here? Does everybody have somebody like that in your family? Yes, they are evil. They are evil. If they say they love Jesus, I got news for you. They need to get saved. Because people who truly love Jesus do not do that to other people. But they enjoy it. It's an abomination to the Lord. Verse 20, my son, observe the commands of your father, and do not forsake the teachings of your mother. Bind them continually on your heart. Tie them to the end of your, tie them around your neck. And when you walk, they will guide you. And when you sleep, they will watch over you. And when you awake, they will talk to you. Actually, Solomon probably got this out of, he's already said it over in Proverbs chapter 3, verse 3, where he says, do not let kindness and truth leave you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablets of your heart. Proverbs 7:3, he says, bind them on your fingers and write them on the tablets of your heart. And so here, I want you to understand, back in those days, back in the family unit, fathers commanded and mothers taught. Now, if you go south of the Rio Grande River, going to Mexico, in that culture down there, in the Mexican culture, fathers, when they speak, it's a command. And when mothers speak, it's a teaching. That's just the way it is. And almost around the world, now the fathers are doing it as a command to be a teaching too, but they just do it with such force that it feels like a command. And almost every place in the world, whenever the fathers speak, they speak, and it's an order, it's a command. But when mothers do it, they're trying to teach. Only in America, and only really in the last 100 years, has it been that the women have authority to offer commands also. So, but we're talking about that culture there. That culture is where the father's going to command, the mother's going to teach. And the reason why is these commands and these teachings, they protect us, they watch over us, they guard us. I'm redoing my garage. And I've hung the sheetrock, and I've float taped and everything, and I've textured it with the same texture that's inside the house. It's just gorgeous. I mean, it's all painted. It's beautiful. It looks like I live in my house. I can now live in my garage and be like I'm at home in the house. And I've put this beautiful drop ceiling in with lights and all that type of stuff. It's just gorgeous. Well, now I'm fixing to do the floor. And so the other night, floor was dirty, so I had taken the garden hose in there and I was washing it all down. I was scrubbing it really good to get any mud off the floor, floating tape mud and that type of stuff, and texture that had been blown. Getting it nice and clean so that I could then come and etch it and then put the epoxy paint down on it. The floor is still wet. Now, I have in my garage this huge fan that came out of the old air conditioning system that we have. Lots of us have it, the mower, the motor that blows it. And I've hooked up an a cord to it where you just plug that thing in. Now, normally I have it on a rheostat where I can turn it up and down, but because I'm redoing the garage, it was unplugged and just sitting off the side. I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to speed up this process by putting this fan on the wet floor. I've got the fan sitting down. I have the plug in my hand. I am ready to plug it into the thing, and I hear my father's voice from before I was 11, I guess I was about 10, where I was in the same situation in my garage on a wet floor, and my father said to me, "Son, don't plug that in because you're standing on wet concrete." My dad has been dead since before 1967, but I heard his voice just like it was that day say to me, "Don't plug this in. Don't plug this in." Now, I'm smart enough now that because I thought about that, I rearranged my situation so that I could plug it in and get out of there. But I knew how to handle it then. But the reality is, the commands and teachings of our parents, when they are engraved on our heart and they're tied around our neck at the end of our fingertips, they do protect us. They do protect us. That is the way it is. How many of you still today, where your parents have been gone for many, many years, you hear mama saying something in your head, or you hear daddy saying something in your head? That's what Solomon is saying right here. Listen to my commands. Listen to your mother's teaching, and they will guide you and they will protect you. I'm telling you this. If a kid doesn't listen to his father and mother, I guarantee you he will have trouble later on in life until he learns some lessons of hard knocks. Going on, verse 25 says this, "Do not desire her beauty." Oh, wait a minute. For the command, I'm going to back up, verse 23. "For the command is a lamp, and the teaching is a light. The reproofs for discipline are the way of life, to keep you from evil women, from the smooth tongue of the adulteress." Solomon's not bringing this thought up. This thought's Dad's thought. Remember over in Psalms 119, David had said this, and I'm sure Solomon had learned it. "For thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path." That's what he's saying. The commandment's a lamp. The teaching's a light. It shines, illumines down when you do things and you're headed places you should not be, and it shines light on them so that you can see them. It's not darkness, it's light. And then he brings up this woman, this adulteress again. How many times are we going to talk about an adulterous woman? Here it is again. We're going to have to endure it again. We endured it last week. We endured it the week before. Evidently, either Rehoboam or Solomon has a problem with women. And I don't think it's the son. I think it's Solomon. Well, we don't know, but it's interesting because for whatever reason, Solomon is using this talking about the wicked man in contrast to the godly way of life. Do not become a wicked man and do things wickedly. Become a godly man and do things right. And by the way, he's saying he brings this topic back up of the evils of the adulterous woman. Verse 25 says, "Do not desire her beauty in your heart. Do not let her catch you with her eyelids." You know what that is? Catch her with your eyelids. You know, there's pictures, there's drawings of posters from World War II where they had women flittering their eyes like that, you know. They're not even moving, but you can tell what they're doing with them. I mean, it's a picture. It's not moving, but you know what that girl's doing with those eyes. He says, "For on account of a harlot, one is reduced to a loaf of bread, and an adulteress hunts for the precious life. Can a man take fire in his bosom and his clothes not be burned?" Can you put a piece of fire in here and not burn the clothes? "Or can a man walk on hot coals and his feet not be scorched? So is the one who goes into his neighbor's wife." She's married. "Neighbor's wife, whoever touches her will not go unpunished. Men do not despise a thief if he steals to satisfy himself when he is hungry." We don't despise him that. "But when he is found, he still must repay sevenfold. He must give all of the substance of his house." You can steal because you're hungry, but you're still going to pay, even though you don't despise him. But I'm telling you this, a man will despise if you do something with his wife. "The one who commits adultery with a woman is lacking sense. He who destroys himself does it." He who would destroy himself does it. Wounds and disgrace he will find, and his reproach will not be blotted out. Okay, I don't want to miss a couple of facts here. Solomon is calling this woman an adulteress, which means that she's married. Even if Rehoboam went into the presence of this woman, he's not committing adultery unless he is also married. She's the one who's cheating on her husband, and that's called adultery. Now, if he happens to be married, then he will be cheating on his wife, and that's called adultery for him too. If Rehoboam is not married, he's committing what's called fornication, and fornication means having a sexual relationship with someone who is not your spouse. So, this woman is coming out, and she is intentionally coming out to have a relationship with someone. Solomon also mentions the word harlot. Now, I want you to understand there's a difference between harlot and an adulteress. In the case of a harlot, the harlot is selling sex as a business to pay her bills. Her body is for sale. An adulteress is not got her body for sale. She is out on the prowl for men for sex, and her sexual favors are free, but free at a great cost. Let me say that to you. The man who deals with either a harlot or with an adulteress is going to be burned, I can promise you that, and it's going to be punished sometimes after that relationship happens. Rehoboam is being warned over and over and over again by his father to not take himself into a relationship with a woman who is already married or into a sexual relationship that is out of wedlock, is what Solomon's trying to do. Even if a person steals bread or steals something because they're hungry, that can be forgiven. That can be overlooked, even though it'd be paid back. But he does not want to go in and steal something that does not belong to him. Not pay a surety, not make a vow, not make a pledge to anything that does not belong to him. And the wife of another man does not belong to you. It belongs to that man. It does not matter how pretty she is. It does not matter how charming she is. It does not matter how much she's chasing after you. She does not belong to you. And it is a sin of theft to join her in any of her plans that she may have for the night in a relationship. She belongs to her husband. Verse 34 says this: "For jealousy enrages a man, and he will not spare in the day of vengeance. He will not accept any ransom, nor will he be content, though you give him many gifts." In other words, Solomon is saying if the husband comes and catches the adulterous woman, his wife, with another man, he will not wait for the law to come and take care of business. He will be angry. Solomon is saying to his son Rehoboam, "Rehoboam, you don't have enough money in this world and enough gifts to give a man that you have stolen his wife and used his wife. Even if she's been the one who's flirted with you, even if she's the one who's advertised for you, you do not have enough money." Why should this husband be angry? Why shouldn't he be angry? That which belongs to him has been stolen by someone else, even though that's his wife has given it away. Now, it's very interesting. Very interesting. We call these today crimes of passion. Crimes of passion. And it used to be a very legal defense of people who caught their spouses in relationships with other people, and in a crime of passion, they either killed them both or whatever.